What's up everyone, Arcádìus here. Now I would like to welcome you guys to be watching the first, not episode, but just video where I will be showing you guys how to go through heroic dungeons at level 85, but from a DPS, spec. Most of the time when you watch heroic dungeons, you see it how to heal, how to tank properly. No, I'm going to show you what our role is as a DPS for each boss, or depending on the dungeon, CC, crowd control, or what we're supposed to do on each boss in each dungeon. First off, we're doing Lost City of, I believe it's called Tol'vir, and the only reason I'm showing you guys the very opening video is so that I can talk a little bit about it, so that way I don't jump right into it. I will be going through all 4 bosses in this dungeon. My next one, I believe I'm doing Throne of the Tides, where I will be skipping one, I believe, but I'm not sure. I hope you guys do enjoy this. I would love to make these videos because I know there's a lot of PvP, and sure, I will be doing PvP on my Death Knight, but I also want to throw some PvE out there since I am doing PvE with my mage once I level him up. But anyway, so right here we are clearing these mobs so that we can get closer to the boss. Now, the first boss, unfortunately, was a big fail for me. Basically, I'm going to show you what not to do instead of what to do. For those of you who aren't quite on heroics, but you're farming there, you're getting there, you're so close to being there, this first boss is pretty much the same as normal mode, except it's a little bit more challenging. So first off, basically, what's going to happen is when you get to him, his name is General Hussam. When you pull him, he's going to, obviously, the tank is going to want to take aggro. And as a DPS, we are going to sit on the side and pop as much damage as we can to him as fast as we can. We're not popping Time Warp or anything like that because, unfortunately, I forgot to pick it up in this heroic, so I don't have it. But as you can see, he's throwing down these little yellow circles, and those are bombs. You want to avoid those at all costs. And he also has a move called Shockwave, which in 4 directions he sends little spikes. You want to get out of the way of those. After he places down a certain amount of bombs, he's going to use a skill called Detonate, which detonates all the bombs around him. So you want to make sure you're far enough range so that you don't get hit by the bombs, unlike me, which you'll see here shortly. Basically, he causes these bombs to explode. I get out of the way, at first to move them, but then bam, I die. I didn't realize that it was going to happen so quickly, so I failed. So I made sure this video was sped up. Each of the bosses are going to be a little sped up, so that way, you're not sitting here listening to me ramble. But that is basically, this boss is simple. You just need to make sure you are watching where you are with the bombs. Now, if you're a hunter, it's easy to, move back and forth and, avoid the bombs. But as a mage, you have to, you stand still, you start casting, and then you got to move when bombs get around you. And you always want to make sure you avoid the bombs and the shockwave skill, because it hits hard, especially in heroic mode. And the one thing about this place that unfortunately I'm not able to get is that in certain parts CC is needed. There are other dungeons that I'll be going over where it is required in order to survive. So you'll see more of that later. But for this video, basically, I'm just going to show you guys how to properly execute each boss from an arcane mage perspective, not DPS, not tank, not healing. I just thought it'd be a little more interesting. So this boss, as you guys can see, goes down, and that's the basic, execution that you need for this boss, for General Hussam, the first boss of Lost City of Tol'vir. Next up, you guys, we are going to be doing Lockjaw, and he is a little more annoying. He has a spell called Scent of Blood that he throws on one of the players in your party. Now, the big key with this is that you need to make sure either the entire team stacks on the tank, or if you get Scent of Blood, when the alligators start coming towards you, you want to run towards the tank so he can pick up the aggro. Okay? Once the alligators start running towards you, run to the tank so he can pick up the aggro. because if not, they're going to be on you, and they can deal quite a bit shit of damage. So another thing you can do is that you might want to stack on the tank. It might be easier that way. So that's his first thing. His second thing is called Dust Flail, which is where he smacks his tail around, and it causes a great deal of damage. So if you are fighting him behind him, make sure you avoid his tail. Watch it. A good add-on that I recommend you guys getting is called DBM, Deadly Boss Mods. It warns you when certain things are about to happen, whether to move away or etc. So I definitely recommend that. But this boss, he's just, I think the only hard part about him is the crocs, because they tend to be quite annoying. So either stack on the tank or just run towards him so he can pick up the aggro once he goes down. Now, after Lockjaw, you have a second boss who I forget his name. I think it's like Hugh or something. He is pretty simplistic. A lot of it's a tank and spank, except he has this skill where it's like a blade storm, where he spins around, it gets all dusty, spins around, and it hits hard. So if you're a melee class, I definitely recommend getting out of that, because if you don't, you're going to regret it. Now, our tank didn't realize that we were supposed to kill this boss, so he started walking off, but then he was like, oh, yeah, he wasn't that experienced tank, but, it worked out because we had a pretty decent healer. So basically, like I said, it's a tank and spank. I don't understand why this DK was throwing up her Army of the Dead. She should have saved that, but, whatever. So, as you can see, he is spinning, so you want to make sure that you do avoid that. And, it's pretty simple. So you just push through it, and tank and spank, just make sure you get out of his whirlwind, because he will get towards you, and it hits hard, especially if you're, squishy like a rogue, or especially a cloth wearer. So that's why, I keep some sort of a grave distance, but he's pretty simple. So that is Hugh and Lockjaw. Next up, I forget his name, but this one is a little more difficult. A lot of it is a tank and spank, but there's a lot of movement required. He summons a burning phoenix, as you guys can see right there, where basically you need to kite around and DPS at the same time. If you have a hunter in your group, perfect. The hunter needs to kite him around and kill him, and then he's going to form an egg. When the egg goes down, focus back on the boss and, DPS him some more. I was trying to get him off the healer, so here I was DPSing, I didn't realize it was regenerating, so I was like, alright, back to the boss. And the boss also summons, it's kind of like a Sunfire right here, where it's, I can't read that, I think it was something's Fury. You want to get out of that because it's kind of like a Moonfire. And this is where it gets a little different. You go into like a shadowy world where basically the Burning Phoenix turns into a Shadow Phoenix. The biggest key is you need to pop all DPS onto this Phoenix and just rape him into the ground. It's as simple as that. You just kill him as fast as you can, because you don't want to stay in the Shadow World too much, because it does cause damage. You don't want your healer to go So I recommend just not necessarily popping your cooldowns, because of you have your main boss next, but definitely go ahead and just pop your simple cooldowns and just kill him. And then once you get out of the Shadow World, you come back. Just the rest of it is basically just popping, just popping this dude down to the ground, just DPSing him. And I know this may not be energetic, this may not be as helpful as a tank or healer, but I just, a lot of people do play DPS over tanking or healing. So for those of you who do watch, these kind of videos, I hope this does help you, because some of the bosses do require a lot more mechanics than others, which you guys will see in other dungeons that I have recorded. And so this guy, just make sure that if you have a hunter in the group or someone who can kite around this Phoenix bird so he doesn't, get on your healer. And there it is. Next up, the final boss. A little more difficult, a little more annoying. When you first get up there, he has, a buff on him that prevents all damage, but he still attacks you. He summons these servants of Siamat, where you need to kill them as fast as possible, because because the boss does hit you, you don't want your healer to go and you want to stay out of the little green swirly shit on the ground. That's, if you see a green swirly shit, just get the fuck out of it. That's just how it works. and you want to make sure that you can DPS these servants as fast as possible, because you don't want, to take so much time that it requires your healer to lose all of her mana on healing it because of these servants. Now, unfortunately, she was telling me to pop, Time Warp, but I didn't have it at the time, so she got a little pissed off. But I was like, you know what? Sorry, you got to deal with it. So once all these servants go down, he comes out, and when that happens, when you saw me flying around, that's when you know he's moving around and he's good to go. Basically, would be the perfect time to pop Time Warp or Bloodlust if you have either a Shaman or a Mage in your group, and just DPS him as fast as you can. You want to DPS, avoid the tornadoes that come around, because they do fling you up. If it flings you off, there are tornadoes around where you are able to get back up there and get back into the fight. So it's pretty, once you get those servants down as fast as you can to, save your healer's mana, it's pretty much a tank and spank. You would pop Bloodlust or Time Warp and just destroy him into the ground, and it's as simple as that. I hope you guys this did help you guys. I've got more coming up, so please stay tuned. Thanks for watching. See ya.